Hi readers, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads. Lee here for an April reading recap. I'm finishing up one book. Recording this on Tuesday, should have it finished by tomorrow. I'm struggling a little bit with it, we'll talk about it when I get there, but if I finish it, I will have read 21 books this month. It is hard for me to believe I've read that many, and because there are so many, I'm going to go through this as quickly as possible because A, my phone's been blowing up with work and telemarketers all day, and B, there's a lot here and my camera does not like to go much longer than 20 minutes. So, I started the month with Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Back in March, I did an Abby Jimenez binge, and now I've read everything, all of her novels. I've not read her novellas, but really looking forward now to the next one. So I'm going to just say recommend, not recommend, and I don't think anything's going to be in my faves of the year this month, but it was really a great reading month, and I highly recommend this if you like a romance with modern complications. Next up, I will be using this book for another video where I have a theme going on, and that is Heartwood by Amity Gaige. What I did not realize was that this book is loosely based on something that really happened in Maine probably a dozen years ago. I found out later, and we'll get to that. But I really enjoyed Heartwood. It was satisfying to me. Highly recommend it. It's a new release. So, I was not a huge fan of Amelia Hart's Wayward, but I did like The Sirens. Except the people who loved Wayward didn't seem to like this. I liked it, but I went in with an open heart and an open mind because I knew I didn't really like Wayward. So I said, I'm going to try to like this one, and I did. This is kind of magical realism. Really liked it. Next up is a horror book, Joe Hill's Horns. This one was just okay for me. There were some things I liked about it, but it got to a point where I couldn't tell if something was real or not, and not in a good way. It got kind of wacky. Next up, I read A Novel in Stories, didn't realize that when I bought it, Olive Kitteridge. I enjoyed this, but I struggled only because I struggle with short stories. These are all connected. I think I would have had a better time with it if I'd listened to it on audio, and when it comes to Olive again, which I plan to read in the near future, I will definitely get that on Audible. I have had a thing this year with covers not really expressing the content of the book, and Jennifer Weiner's The Griffin Sisters' Greatest Hits gives me a happy vibe. The story was not all that happy. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. But it was a story about sisters and betrayal and guilt, and I highly recommend this. This is at Barnes & Noble. It's like the #1 bestseller. I can see why. Loved it. Next up, then I went on a sisters kick. So, Rabbit Moon by Jennifer High. I also loved this. This is a book also about sisters, but about a lot more. This is about a family whose oldest daughter is injured in an accident in Shanghai, and throughout the course of her injury, they're trying to figure out about her life. It's very non-linear, but this was a moving read. Still on sisters. No, I don't think this is going to make one of my favorite of the year, but I did last week do a book review on this, and that is Blue Sisters. If I can remember, I will put a link to that video down below. If not, I won't. But I really enjoyed Coco Meller's Blue Sisters. I cried at the end. Again, there is a sister who, in this case, she's passed away, and the other 3 sisters are trying to figure out how to deal with that grief and a year later. So I'm trying something different. I may not do it this week because it's the end of the month, beginning of the month. I'm trying to intersperse a little bit more nonfiction in my weekly reading. So I thought, I somehow got a stain on this book, looks like coffee, that What the Taliban Told Me by Ian Fritz would be a great read. No. But that comes from my personal experience with linguists in Afghanistan and my personal experience in Afghanistan. And I felt that Ian is always the smartest guy in the room, knows better than everybody else, when in reality, he doesn't have that much experience, and he could have done with a little humility. Don't recommend. Next up, cute little book that I found on a podcast that I was listening to. It is Hate Follow by Erin Quinn Kong. Really cute. The mom is an influencer. The teenage daughter decides she doesn't want to be part of it anymore and sues her mother. Cute read. If you're going to go to the beach, I'd take it to the beach with you. Paperback. And it's not going to be anything that you get too invested in. Although, one thing I did appreciate is that they both wanted to talk to each other, but they were having trouble communicating, like mothers and teenage daughters sometimes do. Next up was Emily Henry's Happy Place. I enjoyed it. It's kind of like a fake dating because the couple in this has broken up, and they have to fake it in front of the friends because the friends allegedly don't know. Anywho, cute read. Enjoyed it. Next up, this is one I do highly recommend. I spent Francine's Spectacular Crash and Burn by Renee Swindle anxious the whole time, because I was watching Francine's Crash and Burn and wanting to say, stop, no, just like other people do when we make mistakes. You know, you make excuses for what you want to do or what you don't want to do, and everybody else can see the train wreck that's coming. But in the end, this book had a very happy ending, in my opinion, and I wanted it. I wanted it because I did not want Francine to fail. She and little Davy worked their way into my heart and stayed there the entire length of the book. Next up, this next one was not for me. I read through the whole thing. I considered DNFing one time, but I pursued. I wanted to see what all the fuss about All Fours by Miranda July was. This is a shortlist nominee for the Women's Prize for Fiction for this year. I can see why it was nominated. It was just not for me. I could not connect at all with the main character, and I didn't really care about her at all. She just seemed like someone so foreign to me, and I don't mean nationality. I mean her personality, who she was as a person, as a character. I could not connect to her at all. You know who I could connect to? The main female character in Summer in the City by Alex Astor. Her name is, sorry, I have to look it up because it's been a couple weeks, Elle. And it took me a bit, but once I got who she was, I completely connected to her, and I understood where she was coming from in a way that I could not with the main character in All Fours. For book club this month, we read and I listened to The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. This was informative, this was interesting, it was infuriating, because the companies, there were several of them, who hired the girls to work with the Radium would make a deal, this is later on, when the girls got sick, and then try to renege on the deal and try to say that the radium wasn't really what was poisoning the girls. Now, early on, like 17, 18, 19, 19, 17, 18, 19, 20, they maybe didn't legitimately know. But by the time of the lawsuits, they knew, and it was infuriating. Okay, I talked about Heartwood earlier. It's loosely based on the case of Jerry Largay, who sadly got lost while hiking the Appalachian Trail in Maine, and they could not find her in time. And it's really, really sad story. But I learned a lot about the Appalachian Trail by reading When You Find My Body by Dee Dauphiné, and about Jerry's sad case, about the Navy SEAL School up there, and about wilderness survival in general. I'd like to think that I'd like to hike the Appalachian Trail. I am not physically prepared for that, and after this, I definitely wouldn't go it alone. Recommend. I recommend the Radium Girls and Summer in the City too, if you couldn't tell. Next up, Donnie Reeds on Instagram reminded me through a post of his that I had a copy of Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, and I hadn't read it yet, and it's been a minute since I've read some Blake Crouch. I read the Wayward Pines series back to back to back, and then I wanted to wait on this. Glad I did. This was a thriller, in my opinion. I have not yet checked out the Apple TV show. I don't know if I will or not. I don't watch that much TV. But this was fantastic. I highly recommend it. I love Blake Crouch, and I will continue to do so. Okay. So, Heartwood, When You Find My Body, I decided to go back to Maine for Lost on a Mountain in Maine. This is a short, like 90-page book about a young boy's experience in 1939 where he's hiking with his family and he gets separated from them. It is due to a mistake that he made, but he was 12. So, anywho, he survives. There's also a movie based on this. I have not watched that yet either. A lot of people were critical of this book because the boy made a mistake. He made a mistake. He was 12. And one woman said that he didn't make any bargains with God because he would pray all the time. Every day he would pray when he woke up and before he went to sleep. Well, she was judging him because he didn't make any bargains with God on what to do if God got him out of there. And I'm like, you don't know what he said to God in his prayers, so leave the 12-year-old boy alone. The language is dated. This happened in 1939. He was 12. I don't know when the copyright on this is. 1978. Sorry, I guess I do know. So he says boy and Christmas a lot as exclamations. And I noted it, but I was fine with it. It's 90 pages. It's really it's a really good read. I recommend it. Next up, it took me almost all month to read The Women with Silver Wings, and finally, after I finished Lost on a Mountain in Maine, I said, I'm finishing this before I start anything else. I, yesterday, should have posted a Women with Silver Wings yesterday on Internet Time book review because I was really moved at this. I'm going to start a new hashtag, I cried at the end. What moved me the most was learning later how these women fought so that I could have a chance to do my job later on when I got in the military. And in 2009, Congress voted to give the Women of the WASP the Congressional Gold Medal. Speaking of Congress, I think I've got a few extra minutes since I've been blowing through this pretty fast. I am really excited to learn that Congress, not today, this is going to happen, it doesn't say when, but also related to this, the women of the 6888 unit, the postal unit, there's a show about it on Netflix. Only black, all-female unit to serve in Europe during World War II will be presented Tuesday, which is today when I'm recording this, with the Congressional Gold Medal. There's been a campaign to recognize this unit's efforts. Again, women fighting for the recognition that they deserve helps other women. So I'm really excited about that. All right, the last book that I finished is What the Woods Took, because I'm on this whole Lost in the Woods theme, And I really loved this book. It reminded me a little bit of Stephen King's The Outsider, and I will probably talk about it in my weekend books for next week, which I've lost my... okay, I know. I will talk about it in my weekend books for next week because in more detail, because next week's going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the end of April, and then 1, 2, and maybe Saturday for the beginning of May. Anywho, love that book. We'll talk about it more next week. Highly recommend it. It is YA, but it's a really well-written YA in my opinion. So I'm ending the month Still Lost in the Woods with The Grounding of Group 6 by Julian Thompson. This is a reread, and I admit I'm this far in, I'm struggling a little bit. I read this back in probably the 80s, or yes. This is copyright 1983. This is my original copy. And it's a Lost in the Woods theme with a twist. It's very similar to what the Woods took, except for one big thing, one major part. But I'm really gonna try to see if I can knock this out between tonight and tomorrow. Like I said, I'm struggling a little bit, but I think once I sit down with a glass of wine, I think I'll stop struggling. Anywho, that is it for my April recap. I will have some of these books that I will talk about in my weekend books next week. And if you've made it this far, as always, thank you for sticking with me on my journey. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. I do try to answer every comment. It may take me a day or so. Happy reading!